Hi, this is Margo. This is Saturday evening, November 12th, 2016, and I'm going to be talking about two or three topics tonight. First of all, we're just going to do an election update aftermath. Even though Trump won, and I did vote for him, so, a lot of people didn't, a lot of people did. He won, and I still have an impending feeling of doom. I didn't understand why that was, but then all the protests started, from all these Clinton supporters from around the country that apparently are being paid by the Soros. They're thinking by Soros. Not sure, but anyway, the protesters are out there saying it's not my president, and it's like, that's never happened in the past. Whenever we had an election and one candidate got more votes than the other, in electoral college votes, that's our president. There was not protesting. There was no one going out and destroying property and hurting people and stuff like that. So, it's just craziness. It's just craziness, and it's the dark side. And this is the mindset that people are in. It's they're just not thinking clearly or rationally, and they want to fight. They want to fight. I mean, there's so much anger, and they're being mind controlled. So, we just need to stay calm and sober about everything that we're doing. And just because Trump won doesn't mean that we can sit back and say, okay, we're going to let him fix everything. No, we still have to be diligent in our walk and in our talk and in everything that we're doing. We have to be diligent. We have to keep up our prayers and prayers of protection over the country and praying for peace. I think that we have put off nuclear war, and, we may not go to war at all now, but I think if Hillary had gotten in, we would have been in nuclear war within a matter of weeks with Russia, but that has now been put at bay. So that's one good thing that happened. But I still have an impending doom feeling, and I've talked to quite a few of my friends and some family members, and they feel exactly the same way, and they're not sure of what it's about. And Trump has a hard road ahead of him. He's got a hard road ahead, and I mean, just to get to the inauguration is going to be a bumpy road because there's so many people opposing him, and then after the inauguration, then it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy because people don't want to change. They don't want to change, and it's life is about change. If you're not willing to change, it makes it hard to go forward with things because life is all about change. And the second couple of things I want to talk about, I think this bears bringing to mind our impending extinction and how to live with dignity in our last few years here. I know, and we've been talking about ascension, and I don't know when that's going to happen. I do believe it's going to happen. I just don't know when. But in the meantime, the planet is still dying. Fukushima is the single largest worldwide extinction event that is still going on. It's still spewing radiation into the water. It's not stopping. It will not stop unless we have divine intervention or ETs that can come down and fix it, but I don't see any of that happening. We've got the chemtrails spraying and releasing all of the toxic things into the air that goes right into our food and water and into the animals and infecting us. And it's got nanoparticles in it, and so people with more gallons have nanobots growing a machine inside them. And, 1 in 10,000 people have these machines that are, their body is ejecting, and it's called more gallons when it comes out, because it's crazy. So this is what's in store for the human race, and it's not looking good. It's not looking good at all. Then you've got all the GMOs, and everything's being GMO'd, and then, we got, the list goes on and on. So I can't even keep on listing them right now. But so with that in mind, I really do think that that the human race is going to be extinct before very long. And Guy McPherson, he's a PhD who left the corporate life, left the easy corporate lifestyle, not the corporate life, the university lifestyle, back in, I'm not sure what year that was, I think it was 2009. He left the academic lifestyle to just go live kind of on the land in a commune in New Mexico, because he had figured out that because of global warming and our carbon-based fuels and everything that we've been using, that we were on the brink of abrupt climate change, that we were past the point of turning around. He realized this, and he tried to talk to people about it, and they wouldn't listen. And so he decided to leave it. He became overwrought with the research, and his job was to research ecology and climate change and all this stuff. And so in doing his research, he realized that we were past the point of no return. And he became so distraught about it, he said, I'm going to go and leave this lifestyle and leave this fakery and everything, and I'm just going to go and live a natural life. And he's no slouch. I mean, he has BS in forest resources, MS in range science, and PhD in range science. And then he was a professor at the University of Arizona from 2000, and he's now a professor emeritus with the University of Arizona. So he's written a lot of books. He's written like 12 books. He's done radio shows and interviews and all this stuff. He travels around the world giving talks about how we're on the brink of extinction and what to do about it, how we can live. How can we live with dignity in our last few years, really? And one of his recent shows that he did said that he thought that the human race would be extinct by the year 2025 to 2030, I believe, if my memory serves me correct, which it's less than 10 years away, and it's because we are just polluting our planet to the point of no return. It cannot heal, and it's not going to be able to support the biosphere that we need to live in. And he said, and he did a show, his radio show on November the 1st, and he said that we are in the midst of this abrupt climate change right now, and one of the big things that happens with this is that we have an inability to grow plants, and if we can't grow plants, we can't make food to live. And so the first thing that happens is there will be famines. Lots of famines. Food will go sky high. The food that is produced from different places in the world will go sky high, but there will be massive famines and all different kinds of stuff because the weather patterns are so different that, you know, we just can't grow the crops. The farmers can't grow the crops. So I've known for a long time that we were living on a hospice planet, and it was interesting. One of the callers to a show, it sounded like a conversation I've had with some of my friends. She called in and she says, I've known for a long time, ever since Fukushima happened, that we were going to die and that there's no fixing it. And we're living on a hospice planet, and it's just a matter of time before really everything dies, because we're just polluting everything to the point of no return. And how do you live, you know? And I was actually a hospice volunteer for a couple of years. I would go in and sit with people who were terminally ill. And hospice means, when people go into hospice, it means that they have a terminal illness that they're going to die from. Terminal means you're going to die. And so the doctors quit trying to heal the patient and just try to keep them comfortable. You know, if they want to take pain medication, they can, and just keep them comfortable and fed and, you know, taken care of, their needs taken care of until they do pass. But they can die with dignity without going through a bunch of nonsense trying to keep you alive when they know you're going to die. So, and usually you can go into hospice when you've got 6 months or less time to live. And so I would go in. I was a volunteer, and I would go in and help feed people, feed them. Sometimes I would just sit and read to them. Sometimes I would just sit and watch television with them. I would get them water. I would visit with them. Sometimes some people wanted me to read the Bible to them. I would do that. Sometimes a lot of times they were just too sick to even talk, but they wanted company, so I would just sit. I would just sit with them. I would hold their hand or not hold their hand. Sometimes I'd go in. There were many times people would be already in a coma because in the last 10 days of the life, you can go into a coma, but you're still breathing. Your body is still alive, but you're not aware. But they're just basically sleeping until they pass. And I would go in and sit with them. And at that point, this was years after I had started channeling angels and seeing angels and guides and stuff. And so I would sit there with them, you know, the ones who would be just in the coma or asleep. And I would go into a meditative state, and I would see the person's angel there. And I would see the person like in spirit form, and they would be afraid. And the angel or angels even might be there and just welcoming them and saying, you know, just let go. It's okay. We're here. You don't have anything to be afraid of. And I would be communicating with them. and saying, it's okay, you're not alone, and your angel is here. Or sometimes I'd see, family members who had died and they were waiting there and in the light, and I would just communicate with them in the spirit realm and say, it's okay to let go. You're not alone. And I don't know how many times after I finished a little meditation like that, and I would leave the room, they'd be gone. They would pass on over just within hours. Sometimes I would go in and there would be family members, with the hospice patient, with their loved one there, and they would be so sad and everything, and they'd be not wanting to let him go. And then I would pray with them. I would talk to them and counsel with them a little bit and pray with them. And then I remember this one this whole family had gathered. There were about 10 of them, and they were around the gentleman's bed. And he was still awake, a little bit, not much, but he had been awake, but I think he had gone almost into the non-awake state. So he was getting ready to pass over, but all the kids had come, and I went in, happened to be in the room, went in, and the family was there, and I knew some of them. I had been visiting with some of them while he was there in hospice, and I was meeting all of them, and I said, well, why don't we say a prayer? And so we all held hands, and they all talked to him and told him goodbye, and what that they loved him and all this stuff. And we went all the way around, and everybody said what they needed to say, and then we ended the prayer, and I left the room, and within 5 minutes, he was gone. So this is real. This is real. And so death is really nothing to be afraid of. And when you realize that you do live on, and, we're just letting go of this shell, this shell of a body, and especially when it gets sick and it can't be healed, there's nothing wrong with letting go and embracing it and saying, it's okay. And I was uplifted. I liked hospice work. I was uplifted, and I felt like the people were definitely in a better place, and they were out of pain. And it's it's not for everyone, but I learned a lot, and I was around that a lot, and so I'm not afraid of death, and I don't fear it at all. But but there is a post I want to read. This is from Guy McPherson's website, and it's GuyMcPherson.com. It's GuyMcPherson.com, and the name of his blog is Nature Bats Last. And he's got some really good blog posts, and he's a certified grief counselor too, to help people deal with, the horrific realization that, not only the human race is going to die, but pretty much every species on the planet. We've poisoned everything to the point where, unless there's some kind of divine intervention or aliens coming and healing the planet somehow, and it hasn't happened yet, like I said, but unless that happens, we're pretty much doomed. So, anyway, he wrote this letter. It was interesting, when he resigned his post at the University of Arizona at Tucson, he lost all of his friends and family. I mean, basically, he lost everybody. and they just stopped talking to him pretty much because they felt like he was so radical and just couldn't accept it. And so he wrote a letter to all of his friends and family and everything, and he calls it A Letter to My Past. And he reposted it on his website. He reposted it on October 11th of 2016. And I want to read it to you all because I think it is very profound, and it talks about what he had to go through emotionally and psychologically, and when he made this choice, and it's just very profound. So I want to read this to you, and I think it will speak to a lot of you. I know it did to me. And he starts the post out with a quote from J. Krishnamurti. And it says, "It is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society." And then he proceeds and says, "Dear ex-friends, colleagues, co-workers, family, and students, this letter attempts closure. Our incomplete relationship is comprised of ragged edges. I'd like to smooth some of the edges before we die. I know I'm not the person I used to be. I killed the Buddha years ago. The guy McPherson you claim to know disappeared long ago. To kill the Buddha is to destroy one's identity. The fully indoctrinated agent of imperialism who formally promoted civilization became fully aware of the horrors of the normal set of living arrangements. The resulting personal changes were rapid and dramatic. Too many of the changes turned out badly. Change is the only universal constant. McPherson's changes, for better and worse, left him a profoundly different man than he was a decade ago. Among these changes are the shattered core of his identity and a plethora of confused people in the wake. McPherson's quest for redemption began after the shattering was complete, too late to ameliorate the resultant confusion. McPherson's personal pursuit of excellence had for years focused on freedom of expression, as exemplified during every session of each course he administered. Early in his career, he came to understand the words of Aeschylus, albeit from his perspective as an antitheist. He who learns must suffer, and even in our sleep, pain that cannot forget falls drop by drop upon the heart, and in our own despair against our will comes wisdom to us by the awful grace of God. And yet through the agony, Guy McPherson taught. Miraculously, a few learned as a result of his caring efforts. Among the results of McPherson's teaching were receipt of the highest awards endowed by the only two transdisciplinary colleges at the University of Arizona, Graduate College in 2002 and Honors College in 2009. That he was a great educator is indisputable. Years later, he admitted he could no longer achieve the same level of greatness in the academy, even were he given the opportunity, largely because of his idealism had given way to cynicism. He no longer expected every person to exceed his high expectations. He'd been set up and knocked down too many times for his faith in each individual to persist. Still, he refused to lower the bar for himself or others. No longer able to continue down the road of expectations into which he was born, he tried to escape. McPherson's failure to change society's horrific course haunts him even today. His inner teacher continues to override his Buddhist tendencies. After abandoning the academy, McPherson rarely heard from the people who formerly dominated his life. The infrequent interactions were filled with tales of his insanity based upon a rare brain disease. Paradoxically, former students occasionally told him that when encountering difficult decisions in their careers, they asked themselves, "What would Guy do?" It's difficult to imagine a higher form of flattery. The official response to McPherson's increasing radicalism was harsh. He was disparaged, marginalized, and ultimately cast aside by a society that worships money over life, power over beauty, and war over love. He sought a new life, free from the shackles of empire, filled with hope. He tried to lead the way out of omnicide and extinction. A line from Mad Max Fury Road comes to mind. Near the end of the film, Max, played by Tom Hardy, speaks from personal experience. Quote, "Hope is a mistake. If you can't fix what's broken, you'll go insane," unquote. McPherson couldn't fix what was broken. He lost hope, and he deemed the loss good. He lost his way with mixed results. He lost his civilized mind. The cost so far, everything. Essentially, every material possession, every relationship he held dear. Recognizing that the culture monetizes and therefore trivializes everything, including every single thing and every being, offered no consolation for his losses. Rather, it was a reminder about the haunting words from Aeschylus. Suffering and despair had become constant companions, intertwined with the wisdom he'd acquired. This undesirable outcome explains why so many prefer willful ignorance. As Adyashanti pointed out, quote, "Enlightenment is a destructive process. It has nothing to do with becoming better or being happier. Enlightenment is the crumbling away of untruth. Is seeing through the facade of pretense. Is the complete eradication of everything we imagine to be true," unquote. Soon after McPherson's attempted escape, he discovered the only escape is the final one, as elucidated by Homer in the Iliad. Quote, "The gods envy us. They envy us because any moment may be our last. Everything is more beautiful because we're doomed. You will never be lovelier than you are now. We will never be here again," unquote. McPherson came to welcome the moment the gods envied. Ceasing to exist became preferable to being fully present in the current moment. Picking through the remaining shards in some search of meaning brought heartache. Lacking other options in the face of our near-term demise, he pursued the same goals toward which he encouraged others, excellence and love. This message is not goodbye. Although my weak will to live combines with my location to ensure I will be among the first humans to join the myriad other beings we drive to extinction each day. You'll not be far behind, contrary to my wishes. I send you my sincere good wishes during these final days. Sincerely, Guy. Version 2. So, this so spoke to me. I had to share it with you all. And I go further, one step further, in saying the only thing worth living now is spiritual awakening. We have to go into the spiritual. This is the only thing, our spiritual awakening and our spiritual path. We have to be ready for whatever comes and be able to face it calmly and with dignity, and always take the high road. No matter what everybody else around you is doing, you always want to take the high road. And this is the way that Jesus was teaching us. And I'm going to be starting a series of talks in the very near future about the Essenes and about Jesus, and bringing Jesus to life, and talking about how non-Christians even can have an experience with Jesus. And you don't have to be Christian in order to have an experience with Jesus and the divine. And this is profound, and this is meaningful. So, in the aftermath of the election, and in the chaotic times coming, and, we don't know exactly what's coming, and possibly Nibiru and the return of the Anunnaki gods, like in my last message from my session with God. Anything is up for grabs. I mean, the future is up for grabs. I don't know what's going to happen, but I just know that we need to be here and love each other, forgive each other, forgive ourselves, try to live in peace and harmony as much as we can, and not judge one another, and support each other in our excellence and our path of living with dignity, and our finding our own truth and our own enlightenment, and stripping away all of the lies and all of the things that have been taught to us that were wrong, so that we can find our own truth and our own beliefs. And I encourage you to do this. I'm a hypnotist, holistic life coach, and spiritual healer. I help people remove blockages of all kinds, and I work empathically with my clients and help you restore your divine connection. My website is margoshealingcorner.com, and my YouTube channel is Margo's Healing Corner. Until next time, stay safe and be well as you can, and walk in peace and with the light of God and Jesus. God bless. Godspeed. Good night.